So hi guys and welcome to another episode of Hack Explorer. In this episode we are going to talk about Snort and how to configure NIDS rules. So by the end of this video you'll be able to create some basic rules using Snort to detect your attack traffic in your network. So let's jump in and talk about how to create these rules. So I have opened the Snort site so you can get more information on here. So if you want to get the latest version and information about the Snort rules and all of those stuff, you can always go to this site. So basically I have to talk about the lab setup over here. So I have a Ubuntu fresh installation and this is the command prompt of my host machine, and I have another Windows box running a FTP service. I have used XAMPP to run my FTP server. You can use any version of FTP. We just want to make sure FTP is detected and there's FTP server running. Even if you don't have FTP server, you can still continue on configuring these rules. So if I show you the lab setup, all of this lab is created upon a virtual box, 3 main servers, and let me show you a screenshot of that. So this is my lab setup. I have a Windows XP box and 56.1 is my own computer that is running, and this is the Snort installation. So we will be using these IP addresses, and all of this configured to use the host only adapter. So I have made a similar lab setup before. You can refer to my previous video. I'll put up the card on top. You can refer to that one, but the only change here is here we are using a fresh Ubuntu installation, and I have made one interface into promiscuous mode. So what happens is it will listen to all the network traffic in this virtual environment, and we can make sure we are detecting all the traffic. So if you're unfamiliar of creating how to create a promiscuous mode, very easy. So if I go to this network box, I have two interfaces. One is the host only adapter, and I have a NAT where we can make the internet connections for the box. So in the host only adapter, which is supposed to sniff this network, if you go to advanced, I make sure the promiscuous mode is allow all. So all the network traffic it can be able to intercept. And make sure when you have this type of interface, you remember the MAC address of that interface, because it is important when you are setting up the NIDS box, right? So remember, you have two interfaces and a fresh Ubuntu installation. You can get more information about the IP setup if you go inside. Let me open another new window. If I type IPADDR, so you can also use ifconfig, but this is a fast approach. You can see I have two network interfaces, okay, and I told you to remember the MAC address. So MAC address is over here, this one, 25.1e. Let me check what is the MAC address over here. So I want to find the sniffing interface, advanced, so 251e. So this will be the same address. So remember, now we identified this is our sniffing interface. So this will be important. Okay, so that's the first network setup initially you identify. So all the other hosts, remember it's on the local host network, you can identify from there. So setting up Snort. I'll open a new command window, and once you're here, it's just one command. You can use the instructions on the side, but this command also is the same thing. So it's sudo apt-get install Snort. It's easy like that. You'll be getting the latest version, and I'm trying to install it here. So it'll be about 8 megabytes. Just set it up. Okay, so once you're getting here, you'll be getting this information. I told you need the interface name known. So I'm going to press OK over here. So just press the tab and press OK. So I have done this installation before, so that's why it has automatically detected my sniffing interface, which the value I given earlier. But in your case, you might have to copy this value and give the sniffing interface over here. Okay, so this will be interface where it all Snort will be looking at all the traffic on the network. Yep, it says invalid interface, but just ignore this one, and yep, just click OK, and you'll be installing Snort like this. So during the installation, if you get this screen where you have to configure local network, because I already installed this one, it's not there. So during the installation, if you're asked for IP range like this, when you're configuring, you should make sure you have to give the local IP range that is given by virtual machine. So in my case, you can see my network is the local adapters are using the 56 range. If I go to IP 56. So you have to make sure you have to give the sniffing interface IP address as something like this in 0 and /24 as the networks. So it'll make sure that is the network range that the Snort is supposed to work on. Okay, so I didn't get that screen. So now let's go into the Snort configuration file location. So the Snort configuration files are located in cdhc/snort. If I go here, you'll be finding a Snort configuration file like this. So before configuring these files, so before starting work in this file, my recommendation is to take a backup of this. So how do you take a backup? So I'll take a copy actually of the Snort configuration file, and I'm going to rename it as snortconf.back. Okay, so oops, forgot the magic word sudo. So now we have a backup file over here. I'm going to do another thing like this. So since we are testing some rules, I'm going to make because Snort has a lot of rules configured. If you have like, it's about 3,000, 4,000 rules. So just to remove that confusion, I'm going to create another copy of the configuration file, and I'm going to work on that. So that's easy. Snort.conf test_snort. So you can also work on this magic word again. You can also directly work on the Snort configuration file but my requirement is I might be using the same file again, but I can switch between two files. So you can have multiple configuration files, and you can configure Snort to use which configuration file you want. So this is one example like that. So let me edit this test configuration file and show you what parameters should be given. So again, you need a text editor, sudo. You can always go to nano, or I'm going to use gedit to make my life easier, and I'm going to say test.conf. So once you're in this file, there are certain parameters that you need to check. Okay, so still we have not started Snort. Okay, but remember we have to do some changes before starting. So these are the changes that we should do. So first of all, you can see the IP var section. This one, remember, this is a very important keyword in Snort, home net. This refers to the network that you are working. So in our case, our home net is, our range is, you can see it's 192.168.56. This might differ to your setup, so make sure you remember the network name. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one. Okay, and I'm going to say my home network is 192.168.56.0/24. So this will be the home net value that we are providing to Snort. Okay, so I'm going to save it, and this is one of the first configurations that you see here. If you go into setup, there is a lot of configuration options. One of the main options that we are going to change is this particular setup, these rules. So these are all the rules that are configured. That means all the pre-built rules that are coming with Snort. When we are testing Snort, we might be getting like duplicate alerts because of some of the rules that we configure is already there. So my idea is to remove all of these things and make sure we have only our rules. So before that, I'll show you like how to start the Snort with this configuration file, and we'll remove and come back to this section. So after configuring the test configuration, we are going to check whether this Snort configuration is valid and if it is okay. If there's any areas. We did a very small change, but it's better to test at the beginning how to do this one. So I'm going to say sudo snort -t for testing, and I want to specify the interface that we are going to listen on. So I had the interface over here earlier. So our sniffing interface is actually this one, ENSP03. And next you have to specify the Snort configuration file, which is located on etc snort and test.snort config. So press enter. You'll be having a lot of output like this. the section that we are running is actually, you can see Snort is running and successfully validated the configuration. In this file, we are interested in only one section. Here you can see Snort currently has about 4,000 detection rules. We are going to remove all these rules and we are going to make sure only our rules are running. This is just for testing purpose and make sure we understand the rules properly. How to do that? So all the commands are there, so don't worry. So I'm going to my configuration here. What I do here is in our test configuration. Okay, so this is the section that we have all the rules here. So this is a special rule. So remember, all the custom rules that we are making is in this location. Include rule and path is called local rules. All the other imported rules, you have it here. You can copy and paste this section if you want as a backup, but in my case, I already have a backup in my section. So this is where all the 3000 rules are detected. So I'm going to remove this section from my file. Okay, so we have all the rules. So these are commented, I don't need them. Okay, yep. So no rules over here. Okay, remove from here. You can always put a hash sign in the front. You can later, if you want to copy and paste. I'm going to save this. Okay, now we can test our rules again. So if I come here and if I test the rule, the section that we are going to see is this section. Now you can see Snort has 0 rules configured. Now this is the best time to test our own rules. Okay, so what is the first rule that we are going to configure? So if I go to the plan today, okay, so we are going to configure actually set up Snort and configure 3 Snort rules. So first of all, we are going to create a ICMP detection rule. That's actually the ping detection, and FTP connection detection, and a connection failed attempt. So it's actually a step-by-step approach. Little by little we are getting advanced by the rules. So we have already done setting up the Snort for our environment. Now is the ICMP detection rule. So before creating the rule, let's look at the Snort syntax. Snort syntax is very easy to understand. For example, if you see here, this is a sample of a Snort rule, and you can see actually, first of all, we have to give what type of a rule action it has and what type of protocol it should use. And these things you can remember, we have specified a source IP addresses, destination IP addresses, ports, these are the sections. So this first section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before this bracket of message, this is called the rule header section. And this section is called the rule options. Okay, so if I take the rule header section, you can see you have to give the rule action and the protocol that we are using, and source, destination, and the direction of the rule. So it is indicated by this arrow. And here you can see the IP address that you are looking at. So destination address, you can give a network range or just a single IP, and the destination port. So to make our life easier, you can actually also use a tool called SNORPY. If you want to use this tool, it's an online tool actually. You can visit this site, SNORPY.com. For some reason it was not working for me, so I had to use this particular tutorial to set it up on my own computer. So I have a SNORPY running locally. It's very easy to set up. So let me take the running version of SNORPY. So I told you this is one of the best ways to explain and you to understand what are the rule options that we have. So if I say here, if I need alert, log, pass, what are the options that we have, you can check it over here. So we have chosen alert. And let's say if you want to check for ICMP protocol, you can check it over here. And you can specify source and destination IPs. You can see here actually it will create the rule for you. Okay, so you make sure you can use this tool also, but to our understanding purpose, we are going to create the rule by ourselves, so I can explain on the way what is going to happen. Right. So in order to configure the rule, the first rule to detect ICMP traffic, let me keep one window over here to test our configuration and another window to configure the rules. cd/, let's see, Snort rules. So if you go inside here, you'll see a lot of rules created. Open my text editor I'm going to use local rules. This will be the files that we create our own custom rules. Okay. So the first rule we are going to create is detect ICMP connection. So I'm going to tell the rule action is to alert. Okay. And I'm going to say the protocol here. The second thing you have to go to the protocol, I'm going to say ICMP. So ICMP is the protocol that is used by the ping. And I'm going to say from any destination. So here you should give the source address to any port. So source IP and source port is given here. If you specify any, it's very understandable. And you have to give the rule direction from source to destination, from this source to destination. So the destination, okay, so it will be our home network. So you can remember we specified the home network in my configuration file. So how do you refer to that home network here? You have to use the variable name home net. This will be equivalent to our network address 192.168.50.0/24, but you can use it over here and to any port. So what should happen when it detects ICMP incoming traffic? We should specify the message. Okay. So here actually I'm going to use a small thing called ICMP test. Okay. So you specify ICMP test and provide a semicolon and go to the next one. Here in Snort rules, we have a signature ID. So Snort has a unique signature ID for each signature that is created. So if you are going to create a custom signature, so remember, you can give 100,001 because before 100,000, all the things are like it's reserved for Snort. But after this, you can use over here. Another thing is you can give a revision of 1, which means this is for our own purpose. Like we are going to create, if we like, for example, if we do any upgrades on this rule, if we change the syntax, we can change the revision too, so we can see how mature the rule is. So this is the first version of this rule. It's very easy to understand. So let's do a small recap of this. So we have alert. We are telling Snort to alert us if he sees any ICMP traffic, the protocol type, from any source IP to any source, from any source port. So the direction is from source to destination inbound and to our home network, which is 192.168.56.0, and from any port to any port actually. And the rule options are message us, it's called ICMP test, and this is for like the signature of the ID, and the version of this one is the first version of this rule. So once you create this alert, it's better to test the configuration of this alert. So press Ctrl X, I'm going to save it. File name to write is the same file name. And once you are done it, I have already opened this file and I'm going to use the same command which I used earlier to test the Snort configuration. Okay, so I have a small error over here, which is good actually. We can learn from this one. It says error and unknown rule option SIG. Let's check our file. Yes, actually it's not the signature, it's called SID, which is very good. Okay, so let's do that, correct that mistake and come here and check the Snort file again, and you can see successfully validate the configuration. And if you go to the section that we are interested in, you can see one Snort rule detected. So we can see now our Snort rule is created and it's ready to run. So now is the time to execute this rule. Okay, so in order to execute this, what we are going to do is we are going to say Snort, sorry, I'm going to use the magic word again, sudo Snort -a console. What happens here is we are telling Snort to using the A option to print our output is in the console. Okay, so this will be where it prints the output. /q for quiet. Don't show any other details. Like Snort is Snort will show a lot of information about the alert. So this like we call the quiet mode. So not showing banners and status report of the rule and all of those stuff. So keep it here, because when Snort is running, it will show all the Snort related alerts also. We don't want to see them. You just want to see if the alert is hit or not. So that will be helping in the quiet mode. And the next one is the interface dash I, which is, again, I just need to copy this, and ENSP03. With that space over there, and now we should provide our configuration file, which is located in etc snort tester configuration. So you will be having a cursor blinking over here. Now actually it is monitoring the traffic for all the rules that has been created. So unfortunately, if you have any ICMP stuff going on, so you can see there is some ICMP stuff going on in my network, so it was able to detect. But it's simple. If you want to test ICMP, so I'm going to ping this IP. Let's check if this is created. 192.168.56.106 is my IP, and you can see this is how the rule is detected. Okay, so I had Windows is normally like doing some pings and health checks, it's going on, so that's why we see this alert. So now I hope you got an idea of like how the Snort rule works and how we are going with this setup instruction. So I'm going to stop this one here, pressing Ctrl Z and clear the screen. So whenever we want, we'll be using the same command to like check this traffic. If I'm not sure, so this is what we just created. So SID is given, and we can give a class type also. This is something extra because it actually can group alerts based on, for example, if it is FTP, you can group it. So this is a default name that we can use additionally, but even without that one, it is working. So here I'll share you this presentation also. You can actually get this information from here. And the next one is we are going to create a FTP connection detection rule. So remember, FTP has two ports. One is 21 to make the connection, 22 is actually transfer data. So the assumption is anybody is connecting to port 21, that is somebody is trying to connect. We don't know actually data transfer happen, but initially this will be there. So here actually, if you see the alert, I have already created for you. So rule action is alert. The connection protocol is TCP. So from any source IP or any port, if somebody is trying to connect our home network, and if the port is 21, we are sure it's a FTP connection attempt. So I'm going to message it as a FTP connection attempt. And I'm going to give a signature ID. You can see earlier I gave 1 and the revision of this is 1. Let's configure this rule. So I have this rule already, and I'm going to actually remark this rule. Okay, so I have already typed this rule. To save time, I'll just copy this one over here. Let me paste the rule over here. So alert TCP any from home net. So FTP connection attempt and revision 1. Okay, so yes, I'm going to save it. I'm going to run the configuration. So in this section, we'll do another little bit change when you're running. So it'll alert us, but we can also say K and S key. So what does this K S key option do? How Snort works is whenever it detects a rule is being triggered, it actually stores a packet capture file of that particular alert, what happened. Here actually we are specifying like with the packet capture, store a ASCII version of this one also. So a text base, actually we are logging in a text file. So we'll see how to look at those logs and after we see this attempt. So remember here you don't have to have a FTP server running, but I already have it. If you just make a connection attempt to port 21, this should trigger. Okay. So I have a FTP server running over here, so I'm going to use that in this machine. So that is 56106. So it's very easy to run a FTP command over here. So I'm going to say FTP and 192.168.56.106, which should make the FTP connection attempt. And you can see we just triggered the alert of the FTP connection attempt over here. Okay. Now the next thing is we are going to explore what we found out and what is additionally logged over here. Okay, so I'm going to keep these two windows as it is. I'm going to open another window just to show you the log information. In Linux, all the logs are stored in one specific location. So that is var and log. Yep, log. Let's go inside this place, and if you go here, you should be able to see a folder called Snort. Okay, go into Snort, and let's look at what other things that we have. So here actually you have a folder and you have a Snort log. So this is actually the packet capture if you see in this format. So this format actually has whatever the connection is. So I just made an alert from 5601 to this. So it's actually stored all the alerts related to 5601 in this folder. Let's go into that folder, cd 192.168.56.1. Sometimes you might get this error. So you have to actually log in as root into this one. So let me change my, okay, I might have to go to the same location again, cd var and log. Check if I can see the same thing. Yes, cd192. Okay, so here actually you can see a file that is created on TCP 55280 to this one. So if I go here, I should see like from this source port I have got a action to this one. Let's look at this error, cat TCP, and you can see this is the Snort log that you see on the connection attempt. Okay, you can see here right from the time is most important, and since it's a simple rule, it's logging very few information. So as the rule has more options, you'll be see more login information over here. And the next thing is, let me get out of this folder, this one. So this is the Wireshark file. So if you want to see the actual packet capture of this one, you can put Wireshark, and let's queue this file. And yeah, this is the Snort log for the ping request that we connected. So we can see actually what time and what are the IPs that is actually going to. So this is a whole packet capture of the ping ICMP activity that we had earlier. Up to this section, I hope you understood like where to create the Snort rules and how to view how it's logged. So you have two versions, like there's a default packet capture for all the rules that are triggered, and you can also show a text-based version for further references. Okay, right. The next thing is what we are going to see is we are going to go into more meaningful now. So everybody can make connections, everybody can make ICMP stuff, which will be very noisy in our environment. This section, what we are going to see is a FTP fail connection attempts. So somebody tried to connect, but he failed, which will be very important if an attack is trying to connect. So this will be an indication as for analysts that somebody is trying to connect. And if the number of failure attempts are very large, we can see someone is trying to compromise that service or trying to give a brute force attacks or something like that. So when you're making a rule, actually, you should make it more informative and more useful like this. So some rules can be very noisy, but as you add more parameters and more inputs or more detection attributes into the rule, it will be more effective. So this is one of the attempt where we actually see FTP failed connection attempts. So actually a login failed attempt, that will be more meaningful for this rule. So let me go into that one. So I have to do a small thing. We have to understand how the FTP protocol works in this section. So here if I go actually, you can see if I go through the rule. So we have alert and TCP again, and you can see here actually this we are actually going to detect the output message from the FTP protocol. Let me show you what I'm showing here. Let's just check how to actually connect this one. So I'm going to clear this one. We are going to connect to FTP and 192.168. Sorry, 68.56.106. Go here, and here actually we are going to give a user that is there, and I'm going to give a wrong password. So 6. Now, if you look at this one, actually at this point, use a sent the password, and the server is sending back for me password is required for the admin. So communication going out and coming back. You have to understand that. And here it is actually asking for the password. We are sending the password and the server actually replies us 5:30 login or password incorrect. Now this is the section we should capture. In this rule, actually what happens is alert TCP from our server, from the destination to the source. Okay. The special thing that we are going to use here is content. We are actually looking at the packet content. If the packet contains whatever the return traffic it is having FTP password incorrect in this port, we are actually messaging them FTP failed login. So we are sure if this message is there, we are going to show it. So let's configure this rule. So now you can see the difference. So in the return traffic, FTP traffic for any source, which is here actually the destination address. So here actually we had to use the term content, and actually in real life situation when you're testing, you can copy this part. You don't have to copy all the stuff, 5:30 login or something. You can just and I'm going to use exclamation mark also. So since this is a Windows server, we have this specific message. This could be changing from server to server. So you have to make sure when you're creating a rule, what type of output that your FTP or your application is giving. So based on that, you create your custom rule, and in my case, it's detected like this. The message is given from the server like this. So I'm going to identify this one. Okay, and I'm going to give something like this last section also. Let me expand this and paste it over here. Okay, and close the bracket. So alert TCP homenet 21 any triple login content, it's there, and this ID. Okay, I just missed a semicolon over there. Yep, and my rule is complete. When you write a complex rule like this, make sure you can actually use the testing, this command, to actually test the rule before running it. Just successfully validate the configuration. And yep, let me check how many rules are there. If it is only one rule, so one is there. Let me clear the FTP stuff over here, quit. So I don't want any FTP traffic created. Okay, and yes, sudo SNORPY console. I'm going to make sure that is also logged. Now we'll make the FTP connection attempt. So FTP 192.168.56.106. Okay, admin and password. I'm going to give incorrect password 1234, something like that. And you can see we got FTP login attempt. So this one, every time if somebody is trying to connect attempt, so let me just type quit again. Can I even type goodbye? You can see a lot of ideas now coming up, right? Even the goodbye or the quit sign, anything, if it sees in the traffic, we can create the alert for that one. Again, this is all possible because FTP is clear text protocol, so you have to make sure in HTTP and all of those things, this kind of method is possible. Okay, I'll just type Brian. I don't failed, so now you can see. So this workshop was actually to give you a very basic idea and get a jump start into creating Snort rules, and to show how powerful it is to see the content and to get an idea of how to create your own rules. So you can try these with telnet, SSH traffic. Just experiment yourself, use different ports and make sure you create your own rules, and put your own rule in the comment section. For example, for SSH or other protocol, try to create a password rule for telnet or something like that if the password is wrong. So try to come up with your own rule. Use the comment section like if you have any questions, and I hope this setup was clear for you and this rule configuration was easy. So if you want to find more information on Snort rules, always go to the Snort website. You'll find more information over there. And try to install SNORPY also, because SNORPY also will be like showing you more information on what type of rules that you created. Like for example, You can actually create content match, offset course. So we'll be having this kind of like advanced information in another video, but this will be enough to get started. And I hope you enjoy this video. So if you have learned something, please give a thumbs up, and please submit all your questions and whatever the things that you have in the comment section. And if you want to see videos like this, subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.